was the dawn of survival or extinction.
3.2 million years ago, deep in Africa, our ancestors carried secrets inside their bodies. Their DNA was not fixed. It was a canvas, shaped by what they ate, where they lived, and even by the unions between different ancient human species. With every new food, roots, fruits, meat, our genes adapted. With every encounter, DNA mixed, unlocking strength and endurance no creature had known before. This was the turning point, the hidden code that stretched our lifespan. It's giving us the chance not just to survive, but to become human. Africa was the cradle of life for both humans and many formidable animals. The climate during this time period, in the late Pliocene epoch, was undergoing dramatic changes. Cooler and drier conditions were transforming dense forests into more open grasslands, and this transformation shaped everything that lived there. Animals that had once depended on thick forest cover were forced to adapt to open spaces, faster predators, and new competition for food and water. Out of this dramatic shift came some of the most fascinating creatures ever to walk the earth, and among them were the strange and powerful saber-tusked boars, massive pigs with downward curving tusks, and the earliest members of our human family, known as Homo habilis. Their worlds collided, not in fiction, but in the reality of survival. The saber-tusked boar, scientifically tied to the genus Metridiocoerus and its relatives, was a beast of staggering proportions compared to today's wild pigs. It stood tall and heavy, with a muscular frame built for intimidation and strength. Its tusks, unlike those of any living pig, were long, sharp, and deadly, sometimes growing to half a meter. They curved down and out, forming weapons that could disembowel predators or rivals in violent clashes. Its skull was reinforced, its jaw muscles powerful, and its body carried the resilience of a creature honed by millions of years of evolution. In sheer brute force, few animals could rival this monstrous pig. Yet as invincible as it appeared, it too faced relentless challenges from its environment and from the other predators and scavengers that ruled the African plains. At the same time, Homo habilis was emerging as one of the first true humans, a small but intelligent creature standing little more than 4 feet tall. Its name, meaning handy man, was earned through the creation of stone tools, crude flakes and cores that could cut, scrape, and smash. Though Homo habilis was not a hunter in the modern sense, its tools gave it an edge over other primates and opened a new way of surviving in an unforgiving land. Its brain, larger than that of its ancestors, allowed it to plan, communicate, and cooperate. It did not have tusks or claws, but it had something far more dangerous in the long run: the ability to innovate. Picture the African savanna of that age. Wide grasslands stretched under a punishing sun, broken only by patches of woodland and the winding paths of rivers. Herds of antelope-like creatures grazed while predators like saber-toothed cats lurked in the shade, ready to strike. Crocodiles lay hidden beneath the muddy waters, waiting for the careless to approach. Hyenas the size of bears prowled in packs, cracking bones with jaws strong enough to shatter. It was into this treacherous world that both Homo habilis and the saber-tusked boar stepped every day, each species fighting for survival in its own way. For the saber-tusked boar, survival meant strength in numbers. They lived in herds, using collective vigilance to detect predators early. When threatened, adults could charge, slashing with their enormous tusks and trampling anything in their way. Even large cats thought twice before attacking a fully grown boar. But the herds were also vulnerable. Young piglets were easy prey, and even adults, despite their strength, could fall victim to ambushes or exhaustion during prolonged chases. These animals relied on brute force, but brute force alone has limits in a world filled with cunning hunters. Homo habilis, on the other hand, survived through cooperation and cleverness. They scavenged carcasses left behind by predators, using stone flakes to strip meat and crack bones for marrow. They gathered fruits, roots, and tubers, often competing directly with animals like the saber-tusked boar. They could not fight toe-to-toe with such a beast, but they did not need to. By working in groups, by using tools, and by carefully observing the environment, they found ways to carve out a living where larger, stronger creatures struggled. This was the beginning of a pattern that would define human history: brains over brawn. Fossil evidence confirms this coexistence. Skulls and tusks of saber-tusked boars have been discovered in East Africa, often in the same layers of rock that contain the remains of Homo habilis and the tools they made. Some animal bones from this time bear cut marks, clear signs that early humans used tools to process flesh, perhaps scavenged from animals killed by predators or weakened by injury. Though there is no direct evidence that Homo habilis hunted saber-tusked boars, it is almost certain that they encountered them often, whether competing for food at riverbanks, scavenging after their deaths, or avoiding them during foraging trips. The landscape was shared, and in that shared landscape, interactions were inevitable. Imagine a group of Homo habilis moving cautiously through tall grasses, searching for edible roots. They approach a patch of ground recently disturbed, only to find a massive boar rooting with its tusks, flinging soil aside as it searches for the same food. The humans freeze, their survival instincts warning them of the danger. One wrong move and the beast could charge, tusks flashing, trampling them with ease. But if they wait, if they remain patient, perhaps a predator will intervene. If the boar is weakened or killed, its flesh could feed the entire group. In such moments, Homo habilis did not rely on speed or strength, but on strategy. Sometimes survival meant knowing when not to act. This delicate balance between danger and opportunity is at the heart of the story. For Homo habilis, every encounter with a saber-tusked boar carried risk, but also the possibility of reward. For the boar, Homo habilis was insignificant in strength, but unpredictable in behavior. This mutual wariness shaped their interactions and is reflected in the very fossils left behind. The boar left behind its tusks and bones. Homo habilis left behind stone tools and, eventually, descendants who would outlive every beast of their time. The extinction of the saber-tusked boar was the result of many forces. Climate change continued to reshape Africa, drying habitats and reducing food sources. Predators adapted, and competition grew fiercer. For a species built on strength rather than adaptability, survival became increasingly difficult. Homo habilis too eventually disappeared, but not before passing on its legacy to Homo erectus and beyond. The difference between the two is profound. The boar's legacy is one of fossils, while Homo habilis's legacy is us. This story is not just a tale of ancient animals and early humans. It is a lesson about the path of life itself. The saber-tusked boar was strong, but strength alone could not withstand the test of time. Homo habilis was fragile in body, yet resilient in mind. And that resilience carved a path that led to every human alive today. Evolution favors not the biggest or the strongest, but the most adaptable, the most inventive, the ones who can find opportunity in crisis. The African plains of 3.2 million years ago may be gone, but their lessons remain written in the bones and stones uncovered by paleontologists. Each tusk, each stone flake, each fossilized skull tells us about a world where survival meant constant struggle and adaptation. The clash of the saber-tusked boar and Homo habilis is not just history, it is a chapter in the epic story of life, a story that continues with us.